use that as the intro and part of the verses of the Indigo Girls song called Closer to Fine. And today I'm just going to show you how to play that little bit. There are several chords in it. The first is a G add 5. Now a G add 5, sometimes people like to play G like this, where they actually have two fingers down here at the bottom, but that's technically called a G add 5. So your third finger is on the third fret of the second string, and your fourth finger is on the third fret of the first string. So it has a nice full sound to it, and I think that's why people like to play that instead of G. That's the first chord. Then we have a G6. So from a G add 5, you just take your second finger off and you move your first finger down one string, so it's on the second fret of the fourth string. That's a G6. There's several ways to play a G6. And then the next chord in the sequence is a C9. So from there, all you have to do is add your second finger to the third fret of the fifth string. Remember, we count strings from the bottom, so the bottom string is the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So this is a C9. You just play that from the fifth string down as you do the G6. And then you have D sus4 and D sus2. D sus4 is just a D with your baby finger on the third fret of the first string, so it's added on there. Then you remove that baby finger, and that's a D. Then you take off your second finger, that's a D sus2. And then you come back to a D, and those are all the chords in the sequence. So again, you have G add 5, G6, C9, and D sus4, D sus2, and D. Okay, so the strum that we're going to do for this sounds like this. I'm going to slow it down. It's 1, 2, and 4, and. So when you're strumming, always remember to keep this arm in motion. That helps you to keep the groove of the strum. So we don't actually hit on the third beat, but we move our arm down. So 1, 2, and this is the third one, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4, and. If you notice, and I've mentioned this before in other videos, if you see other guitar players who are really good at strumming, this arm is always going, it never stops. That makes their strumming a lot more fluid. So we're going to do that a couple of times with the G add 5 and the G6. So let's try that out. So we're going to do it together. 1, 2, and 4, and 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 1, 2, and 4. And now the G6, you just move that first finger down and take the second finger off. You're playing from the fifth string. 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4, and just keep playing through the chords until you get used to the strum pattern. The C9, where you add the second finger to the third fret of the fifth string. You're still playing from the fifth string down, and it's 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2. So just go through those three chords to start with. 1, 2, and 4, then G6, 2, and 4, then C9, 2, and 4. Now on this end, this is where you're actually switching to the D sus4. And it's good to break it down that way, because doing a chord change on an upstroke, the last beat of a bar instead of the first beat of a bar, is a little difficult to do at first. You're used to switching on the first beat of a bar. And also, to complicate things, it's on an upstroke. So this D sus4 happens on an upstroke. We're going from the C9 to and 4 and like that. So you can break it down that way by just working between the C9 and the D sus4. So you're going to go 1, 2, few times. We'll do it a couple times together. Okay, here we go. 3, 4, 1, 2, and 4, and like that. We'll try it again. Here we go. 3, 4, 1, 2, and 4, and like that. Now, once you get a little better at that, then you can start working on the D chords at the bottom here. As I was saying before, they're all upstrokes, and that's a little tricky too. So you start with the D sus4, you do an upstroke, then you take your baby finger off, just go to a D, and that's an upstroke. Then you take your second finger off, that's a D sus2, and do an upstroke, and then you put that second finger back on and come back to D. So if we put that all together, it's D sus4, D, D sus2, D. So you can take a little while, just work on doing that. Just on upstrokes. Now a lot of people have trouble knowing what finger to take off. It takes a little while for the brain to click in. Okay, no, not that finger, this finger, not that finger. So you may have to work on that one quite a bit until you get the fingers coming off and on in the right order and the right fingers. But once you do, then you could start putting the whole strum together. So let's go back and do it slowly. We're going to go to the G add 5, 1, 2, and 4, then G6, 1, 2, and 4, and C9, 2, and 4, and D sus2, D, like that. So let's try that again. So you might have to work on this for a while before you get it quite right, but I'll just do it a couple more times here slowly. Here we go. 3, 4, 1, 2, and 4, and G6, 2, and 4, C9, 2, and 4, D sus, 4, D sus2, D. We'll try it again. I won't call out the chords this time, I'll just play it slowly. 2, 3, 4. Try one more. 3, 4. Now the thing is that these things take a little while to learn, and you have to be patient with yourself and slow down and work in bits and pieces. Sometimes people might want to teach you how to do something, but they go too fast and they don't know how to teach it, and that happens quite a bit. So, so the idea is to slow down and break it down into little chewable bites and then put it all together. So that's the key to learning anything really like this.